Listen to this. India has strongly condemned the unprovoked strike on a defenseless ship and reiterated that assaults on commercial shipping in the region must end. Right out of the gate, those are some stern, uncompromising words from India's Ministry of External Affairs. We are looking at a major escalating maritime incident here, and honestly, it goes way beyond just a single vessel. Today, we're breaking down a pretty terrifying event that unfolded out on the open water, one that really exposes the immense vulnerabilities of the people who actually move our global economy. Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. I am so glad you're here. Today we're unpacking this sudden, catastrophic sinking of an Indian commercial vessel, the MSV Phase Nureolia. We rely on commercial shipping for almost everything we consume, but we rarely stop to think about the massive risks seafarers face just to bring those goods to our shores. So today, we're going to look strictly at the facts of this strike in the Red Sea, the immediate human fallout, and the massive ripples this single event is sending straight through global trade networks. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to cover 1. The attack in the Red Sea, 2. The crew's rescue, 3. Official condemnations and responses, 4. India's global seafarer footprint, and 5. The global trade route impacts. Section 1. The attack in the Red Sea. Let's get right into the inciting incident. All right, so the sequence of events here was incredibly rapid. It's like a 3-part nightmare. Phase 1. The MSV Phase Nureolia is sailing normally off Yemen's western coast, operating exactly as a commercial ship should. But then Phase 2 happens. Out of nowhere, the vessel is struck by an explosive-laden projectile. And this didn't just happen in the middle of nowhere, right? It occurred specifically about 13 nautical miles south of Al Hudaira, also known as Hodeidah. Which brings us to Phase 3, the grim conclusion. Unable to withstand a direct hit like that, this completely defenseless commercial vessel capsizes and sinks straight into the Red Sea. Section 2. The crew's rescue. Because once the ship goes down, the crisis instantly shifts to the human beings left in the water. So, the crucial number you need to know here is 14. 14 crew members were on board when that explosive projectile hit. And look, in a situation where a commercial ship capsizes and sinks that fast, survival is absolutely never a guarantee. It's terrifying. But remarkably, all 14 of those individuals actually survived this ordeal. Breaking that down a bit, we're talking about 13 Indian nationals and 1 Yemeni national. But here is the real critical piece of the survival story. Yemen's coast guards acted incredibly swiftly. They literally managed to pull all 14 crew members from the water and successfully transported them to the safety of the port of Moha. Honestly, it's a huge moment of relief in an otherwise completely destructive incident. Section 3. Official condemnations and responses. Anytime a commercial vessel is attacked in international waters, the diplomatic fallout is immediate. It's really fascinating to look at how this incident is being framed by different authorities. On one side, you have Yemen's internationally recognized government explicitly blaming Iran-backed Houthi rebels for launching the attack. But then, on the other side, you have the Red Sea Ports Corporation focusing heavily on the economic and civilian nature of the crime. They basically condemned the strike as a direct assault on Yemeni livelihoods and merchants, and they made it a huge point to emphasize that this ship was purely civilian. It was carrying absolutely no military equipment, zero military affiliation. So we're essentially looking at an event that is simultaneously viewed as a major geopolitical escalation and a direct, localized attack on civilian trade. Now, given that 13 of those 14 crew members were Indian, New Delhi's response was, as you'd expect, swift and multi-layered. India's Ministry of External Affairs strongly denounced the strike, calling the attack deeply condemnable. Operationally, the Indian embassy in Riyadh jumped in immediately. They've been closely monitoring the situation and coordinating directly with Yemeni authorities to get their rescued citizens home safely. And at the highest levels of government, Union Minister Sarbananda Sonowal issued concrete directives. He instructed the Directorate General of Maritime Administration to take immediate measures to ensure the safety of Indian seafarers operating in this highly volatile region.
Which actually leads us perfectly into Section 4, India's global seafarer footprint.
And this brilliantly illustrates why New Delhi is taking this so seriously. 320,000. That is the projected number of active Indian seafarers worldwide by the year 2025. India is quite literally one of the absolute largest contributors of sailors to merchant shipping on the planet. Think about that for a second. When a commercial ship is attacked, anywhere in the world, there is a statistically massive chance that Indian citizens are on board, navigating those exact vessels and keeping global trade moving. So the safety of international waters, it's not just a talking point for India, it's a massive national priority. What's really concerning here is that this specific incident marks the very first attack of its kind on an Indian vessel in the Red Sea off the coast of Yemen. Geographically speaking, that's an area pretty far from the Strait of Hormuz. Now, obviously, this region has been plagued by threats linked to the Houthis for a while, but seeing an Indian vessel directly targeted and sunk in this specific corridor, that represents a brand new, historic, and frankly, deeply alarming threat vector for Indian shipping operations.
Let's move to our final segment, Section 5, Global Trade Route Impacts. Because what happens in the Red Sea definitely does not stay in the Red Sea.
The Red Sea corridor and the Suez Canal, they act as this vital, fast-moving artery for global trade. It's essentially the primary shortcut between Asia and Europe. But because of escalating attacks just like this one, operators are understandably terrified for their safety. This disruption is forcing vessels to make an agonizing choice. They are having to reroute all the way around the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa. It is a massive, incredibly arduous detour that commercial shipping is basically being forced into just to avoid getting hit by explosive projectiles.
And those detours have strict, quantifiable consequences. When defenseless commercial vessels are attacked, it kicks off this whole chain reaction of cascading economic effects. First off, maritime insurance premiums absolutely skyrocket because the risk of losing a multi-million-dollar ship is suddenly very real. Second, detouring around the Cape of Good Hope adds weeks to voyage times, meaning goods take much longer to reach their destination. Third, all of this naturally spikes the overall operating costs for shipping companies. We're talking more fuel, more wages, more wear and tear. But here is why this actually matters to you and me. Shipping operators don't just eat those massive costs. No way. They pass them right down the line. Ultimately, this drives up prices for everyday consumers. So, an explosive strike off the coast of Yemen literally makes the goods on your local store shelves more expensive. It's all connected. So, let's wrap up with a critical question to chew on. What happens to the global economy if vital arteries, like the Red Sea, remain compromised for defenseless commercial vessels? We've seen the timeline of how terrifyingly fast a ship can sink. We've seen the human element, 14 lives hanging in the balance, thankfully rescued by the Yemeni Coast Guard. We've talked about the massive exposure of India's 320,000 seafarers and the cold, hard economic reality of what it means when the world's most vital shipping lanes are no longer safe. Look, this isn't just some distant maritime issue. It's a fundamental challenge to how our entirely connected world operates. Thank you so much for joining me to unpack these facts today and this explainer. Keep asking questions and keep exploring how these massive global dynamics impact our daily lives. Catch you next time.